It proposes a revised policy approach to managing payments for new and existing kinship care. The last time we reviewed our kinship care payments was in 2017. Why do we need to review it? In Sheffield, we're renowned for doing a really good job of avoiding children coming into care where at all possible. And one of the key ways in which we do that is by the support we give to kinship carers. We know that kinship care improves outcomes for our children, and it gives them a sense of belonging and identity to remain in their communities and with extended family members. Over the last year, there's been 2 national drivers which have both reinforced the value of kinship care. The National Care Review and the National Kinship Care Strategy both give good evidence about how kinship care improves the lives for children as opposed to bringing them into care. In addition, there's legal risks. These are outlined in paragraph 8.15 of the legal information in the paper. There's been challenges up and down the country from kinship carers against what is perceived unfair payments and unfair policies in relation to payments for kinship care and support. In Sheffield, we're at risk of those challenges from the Ombudsman to the Ombudsman unless we review our policy. And in fact, we have already had 2 complaints raised recently in this regard, and those have been put at bay for now with the promise of a review of this policy. So what do we want? The proposal is that we adopt a standardised approach to our kinship care payments. We currently support 930 kinship care arrangements. That's 930 children who would otherwise be at risk of being in local authority care. The proposal recommends a process and timeline for assessing kinship care funding that's clear, consistent and easily understood. On page 129 is the table which recommends the standardised level of payments. These are based on the national minimum payments for foster carers. In Sheffield, if we were to implement this policy to our existing carers, that would mean an uplift for 850 of those carers, and 80 carers are currently paid over that level. Our current budget for kinship care is broadly balanced. It comes in around £6.8 million a year. To limit cost pressures, a phased approach to implementation is recommended, with a view to reviewing existing payments from January onwards, with a view to implementing them by April 2025. The pressures for 2025 and 26 will be included in the budget for that year, and it's anticipated these could cost up to an additional £2.6 million. When considering these additional costs, we have to consider the alternatives, and the alternative cost for a child to come into local authority care is far, far higher than that, and outcomes are not as good either. So that's the plan. The policy recommends, in terms of implementation, that we, from April 2025, that we uplift existing payments to carers that are below the proposed level, and that for those 80 carers who are currently being paid above that level, we would just maintain those payments at the existing level for 2 years to allow us greater time to review those in detail and ensure that by lowering those payments, it's not going to have a negative effect on the child. In placement, we know that a number of those placements will age out of the system over that 2-year period. So in 2 years' time, we'll be talking about a much smaller number of young people who will be impacted by these changes. In addition, we know we can't have a one-size-fits-all payment system for all situations, and we've set up a new panel that looks at any additional support that might be required in family-based care, and that will include kinship care placements alongside our own fostering placements and other arrangements. So if there is a situation where we believe the child would benefit from an additional payment, perhaps because the child's got a particular disability or particular need, then that's possible, and that can be discussed. Has anybody got any questions?
Thank you, Izzy. Any questions or comments on this item? Councillor Mallinson.
Thanks for that. I'm very, very pleased there's so much effort being put into kinship care. I think it's a great solution and way of diverting young people away from the care system. I'm just wondering if the numbers in kinship care have been changing over time. Have they been going up or staying the same?
They've been steadily rising. The way that young people come into kinship care is via a variety of routes and legal orders. But over the last few years, we've offered a much more robust approach to supporting kinship carers to ensure that when young people do move into kinship care, that carers have got the support that they require to maintain those placements and relieve the pressure on the family. I think the missing link is the financial payments. When we're talking to Auntie Pat or someone's grandma about whether they'd consider caring for a child to prevent them coming into care, it's very difficult for them to make that decision without being clear about the financial impact that will have on them. And because of the different routes in which children come into care and the means testing approach that we currently adopt, which would be changed by this policy, it's a difficult decision for someone to make and to be clear with that potential carer what financial support they'll get for that arrangement. This policy, I hope, will actually increase the number of kinship carers and prevent more young people coming into care, because it'll be clearly understood by social workers who are assessing those families and working with those families from the word go. If we come across a situation where it's not safe for a child to continue living with the parents or other arrangements need to be made, we'll be able to be really clear with that extended network about what that financial support would look like for them moving forward. So I'm hoping that will really help us with our sufficiency.
Thank you. What proportion of, you might not know the answer to this, but I'm just thinking if you do, what proportion of young people who are heading towards or getting into difficulties, having to leave their family, what proportion of them end up in kinship care as opposed to the other?
Well, we have about 650 young people looked after young people, and we've got 980 kinship carers who we financially support. For us to financially support those arrangements, that is almost entirely as a result of otherwise the young person would be within our care system. So it's a significantly higher proportion of young people living in kinship care than in our own local authority care.
Thank you.
One of the strengths of Sheffield is its kinship care way that we work. This is making sure that we are even stronger, and we work closely with the DFE around kinship care. So we're not trying to say we're perfect. That's why we keep on coming back. But actually, part of the reason that our numbers of children in care is lower is because of the really hard work that the team have done around supporting kinship care over a long period of time and making sure it is right. So this is sort of the next part of that evolution.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments on this paper? No. I'd like to thank you for bringing, I know we've discussed it in depth for quite a while now. I'd like to thank you for bringing it in. It is part of our strategy and it is all about better outcomes for our children and young people. And I'd just like to put out there thank you to the families that are the Auntie Pats and the nanans and the uncles and the big brothers and sisters that are actually, you know, taking care of their siblings and extended family, because it can be quite a worrying time, and hopefully this will absolutely help those families. So the recommendations from this paper are that this committee review and agree the recommended policy approach for managing payments for new kinship carers, and review and agree the recommendation policy approach for managing payments for pre-existing kinship carers. Do we all agree? Yep, that's all agreed. Thank you very much. So now we're going on to agenda item number 13, which is the all age mental health. It's on page 159, and Amy and Budry, and is it just you, Amy, today? Okay, thanks, Amy.
Amy's going to Adults Committee though as well when this is, so we've got children's representation there.
Okay, so this paper is about the all-age mental health strategy, which is a 3-year strategy which runs from 2023 to 2026, and it's a joint strategy with Sheffield Place ICB. The purpose of the report is twofold. One, to give an annual update on the strategy, and also to use this as an opportunity for us to agree a move of the responsibility and governance for young people's emotional health and well-being from the mental health, learning disability, dementia and autism delivery group to the children and young people's delivery group. And what that will do is make sure that we've got a more clear and simplified route for our decision making and our ownership by embedding the decisions that we're making in relation to this topic area, and also in setting our priorities going forward within existing structures that we've already got that are purposeful about improving the lives of children and young people. So the strategy itself has 4 sections. Children and young people is one of those sections. You'll see in the document that in terms of priority setting for the final 2 years of the strategy, we've agreed as part of the Children and Young People's Delivery Group that we're going to do some work in the autumn with our partners to reflect on the priorities and the progress to date in the strategy, but also to have a think about what we want the priorities to be going forward in respect of, do we want the priorities to remain the same, or are there other emerging priorities and identified needs that we feel aren't reflected in the strategy that we want to make sure that we've got in there going forward. In terms of member engagement with that, we've talked already today about knowledge briefings. If that piece of work is something that committee would like to be involved in, we are having a development day with our partners from the Children's Hospital and the ICB, the voluntary sector and the Provider Alliance in the autumn. I would be happy to then maybe do a knowledge briefing as an engagement piece with committee to feed back on the outcomes of that in terms of then shaping the priorities going forward, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any? Yeah, Malachi.
Thank you for bringing this to the committee. I think, for me, a lot of my priorities, apart from SEN, is specifically within mental health. The last year, Abtisam and a few of the councillors from different areas attended a community meeting in Israq, which was held by a group of young people. It was attended by 200 or so young people who discussed their concerns within their communities, whether it's drug abuse, in a way that they've never done before. The title was Mental Health in BAME Communities and Taboo, so tackling it from that angle. They discussed why services can intend well, however, due to people's reluctancy to engage with them, they won't be asked to numbs, whether it's judgment, whether it's cultural, whether it's religious. I can see on the priorities is to embed it in the northeast of Sheffield. First, is that the trial? Is there a reason why that was specifically for that side? I was hoping, could we note that this group also gets involved to the, if you look at page 171, the priority on that page, they've worked with the University of Sheffield, lots of youth groups, lots of community organisations, on their own back, their own resources. They're about to publish a report, and I think it's one of them ones where you don't want to miss it in the city, because they've managed to tackle and discuss an area which you wouldn't really get much of a response from. So it's just for the committee to note that group, and if it's possible for them to be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd forward the details to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions or comments on this item? Meredith.
So I think it's really exciting and timely that the element of children's emotional health and wellbeing is coming back into children's governance. So I really welcome it, because it certainly felt that it was probably being lost within the conversation around adult mental health, which is equally important. But actually, for me, and I think for us, it's about ensuring that we get the right opportunities in place. We know that we've got increase in social anxiety, and we're seeing that as well in part of the attendance at school within special educational needs and disability. We know social, emotional, mental health is a growing issue, so we need to make sure that we're responding to that in a child development way rather than an adult approach way. So for me, it's really welcome and very timely a year into my role.
Thank you, Meredith. Ditto for what Meredith just said. You will all be very aware of how I feel around all age and how children's has gotten lost as part of the whole age way of doing things, which it should be all age for a family. There should never be a point where a family can feel that cliff edge or whatever, and that was why we went around the all age way of doing things. But I think this, like Meredith alluded to, is around development and not just a medical model. And I think we'll be able to influence that more when it comes back into children's. And so I'm looking forward to getting our teeth stuck back into this. So if there are no other questions or comments on this one, the recommendation is that we note the progress to date and request an update on an annual basis, with the next expected in September 2025, and approve that the responsibility for oversight of Theme 2 will transfer, along with wider responsibility for the emotional health and wellbeing and mental health of babies, children and young people 0 to 18 and care leavers aged 18 to 25, from the Sheffield Mental Health, Learning Disability, Dementia and Autism Delivery Group to the Sheffield Children and Young People's Delivery Group. Are we all in agreement with that? Thank you. And can we get that on our list for one of our knowledge briefings as well, after Amy's had her meeting? Thank you. Thank you, Amy. So we're now on to our final item on the agenda, which is item number 15, which is our Brighter Future Fund, and this is Izzy again. Welcome back, Izzy.
Hello. So this paper is about, really to inform you about the setting up of the Brighter Future Fund. The Brighter Future Fund is a fund that we hope will strengthen our community parenting strategy. I spoke in, I think, at the September's meeting about a brighter future, the Sheffield Community Parenting Strategy, which sets out the city's priorities for care experienced children and young people across the city. In the city, we've got a successful track record of communities, including local businesses, partners and third sector organisations, stepping up to support our vision for children in care and care experienced young people, offering time, resources, energy and financial support. One of the missing links we've got is the ability for people to offer additional to give financial support, to support extra non-statutory activities to enhance the lives of cared for, looked after young people. We've often had people volunteer to say, oh, I'm doing a sponsored event. Could I be sponsored to raise some funds for cared for, looked after, cared for children and care experienced young people? And we've not had a mechanism within Sheffield to accept that money and also to put it to use. So the Brighter Future Fund is a proposal about a mechanism to accept contributions to support cared for and care experienced young people. Currently, the proposal is that we set up a fund. Some local authorities up and down the country have set up a charitable independent fund, but at this stage we wanted to keep it small to see how successful it was, and it's less bureaucratic and simpler to set up a fund where people are able to make donations if they wish, do sponsored events or make a contribution. And we've got a proposal about how we'll make decisions about how that money initially could be used in terms of donations for activities for young people, and that would be about having a board of trustees, including care experienced young people themselves, to make decisions when requests are made. We sometimes get requests for particular sporting activities or particular opportunities for young people that are beyond those statutory requirements and would enable young people to have more choices and opportunities. So that's how we're hoping that it'll run. Last night we launched the community parenting film, and if you've not seen that, we will send some links out for you to see. It's an excellent film, and at the end of that film is a call to arms really from looked after young people about big asks they want from the city, about jobs, about apprenticeships, about having fun and opportunities for social activities and getting involved in community activities. And I think this fund will form part of that. So people who are wanting to step up and help and are not in a place where they're able to offer that apprenticeships or free tickets or free gifts. This is a mechanism that will enable people to get into the spirit of community parenting, and if they want to make a donation to support looked after children, that's something that they're able to do. Are there any questions?
Can I come in? Yeah, so I'm hoping very much that you say yes, because I spent 6 hours on the 13th of July in Lake Ullswater in a swimming costume in 15 degrees water, swimming 7.5 miles, doing that with a Just Giving page for community parenting, and I am desperate to get the money into the fund. So far I've raised £950 for that, and always open for additional donations, as we say. So hopefully you'll agree the fund, and we can start making sure that people have that opportunity to take part in that community parenting opportunity, which is really important, and we're wanting to really highlight. I think we are again one of the leaders nationally for doing this and saying that community parenting is beyond the corporate responsibility of the council, but allowing people to manifest that and show that in a variety of different ways. And I really, at 4 hours, when I began to think I was feeling cold, all I thought was, I've already raised too much money for me to get out of Lake Ullswater, and I just need to finish it.
Thank you, Meredith. I don't know if anybody else fancies a little swim. Or to climb off a building or abseil or whatever, I don't know. But I think there's no recommendation here that we have to vote on this, but I would ask that, members do support this. We have spoken for quite a long while now about how we can reach out across Sheffield with our partners, stakeholders, individuals, and how important it is that we are all community parents by default because we are elected members, but we're not in this for ourselves, and there's a reason why we've come to Children's, and I think that's because we all really care deeply about our children in Sheffield. So I fully support this, and I would hope that everyone else does as well. And Councillor Bashra, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say I was just reading this and just listening to them. Her death as well, I think absolutely fully support it, and I think it's a good thought and idea, wherever it's come from. Yeah, we'll do our best as well to actually support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Izzy. Please keep us up to date. If there's anything we can do as members as well in our communities, if we have got, providers of services and activities and youth clubs and then, anything really that we can get this out to get them to encourage our looked after young people to come and engage with them. That would be great. Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end of our meeting today. Now, the next date of the next meeting is the 5th of November, officially. However, in light of the conversations that we've had today about getting some extra meetings in, there are openings in October, January and March. So please, we will have a conversation looking at our work programme about when we want to get, when we need to get things into a committee. So please keep an eye on your emails because there may be a meeting before November. Thank you very much.